Hello friends, and welcome to another episode of Wiggly Questions. Welcome to Wiggly Questions Part 6, everybody. Now, I am really struggling to get through all the questions, but we will get there, so please have patience, bear with me. I'm going to answer today, I'm going to start with my Jazzy Mac. Now this is Jukebox James. I know you're getting frustrated that I haven't answered your questions yet, and I totally understand that. I am trying to get to everybody. So here we go. Jason Pleasant from Quincy, Illinois, USA. Jason was a huge fan of the Wiggles. I discovered you on this video called Barney Let's Play School, and I got to say you are legendary. Now, Jason wants to know, during your Wiggly days, has anyone, and I mean anyone, ever laughed on set while doing the Wake Up Jeff gag? Well, yes, we did. Probably more so in live shows than on the set, like if we're filming a TV show, because live there are so many variables as to what might trigger us to laugh and think something's funny. I can't think of any specific instances, but I know for sure we would have been laughing for a lot of reasons. And I think too, there was a stage that we went through where we would ask the audience, we'd say, has anybody got some ideas on how we could wake Jeff up? And you could just imagine, you may well, whoever's watching this video, you may well have been one of the children out there who answered that question for us, and you would know that children can say the darndest things, which sounds like a good idea for a TV show, doesn't it? So yes, there were ideas that children had as to how we could wake Jeff up, and so when we went to actually wake Jeff up by saying, wake up Jeff, or actually, I can think of an instance. We said to the children at the show, can anybody think of a way to wake Jeff up? And somebody said, kiss him. So of course, we all looked around at each other and thought, who on earth, which one of us is going to kiss Jeff, and how are we going to get out of this by acknowledging that it's still a valid idea to try to kiss Jeff to wake him up, but in fact, none of us really want to try it. Thank you very much. Not that there's anything wrong with that. You know, I've never kissed Jeff, but you know, we tried to wake him up a different way, and that worked out fine just by saying, wake up Jeff. So you can see the dilemma I'm having even now talking to adults as to how to deal with that question, let alone in a room full of children trying to deal with it in a politically correct way. So that answers your question there, Jason, that yes, there were times we'd laugh for many reasons. That's just one of them. The next question you've got is, I know you've played guitar during your Wiggly days, but what are some other instruments you play? Well, look, I like to play instruments. I'm not very good at them. I play guitar very basically. I play bass guitar very basically. I play very, very basic piano and very, very basic drums. Just enough for me to be able to do demos of the songs that I write. And so you'll see around me here in this wonderful studio here, the 2x2 studio in Sydney, where we produce 2x2, which is a great show. You can actually check us out on YouTube. So just click here, you'll see 2x2's YouTube channel. Check it out there. So everything we do now for 2x2 is produced here in this studio. And one very big part of 2x2 is actually the guy who's helping me do all this stuff. He's a tech wizard. He's Anthony Costa. He's one of the creators of 2x2. He's a songwriter. I've mentioned him before. He's a songwriter, producer, music producer, video editor, videographer. He just is incredible. He's behind 2x2. So check it out here as well. That's Anthony, myself, and Paul Simon. Not the very famous Paul Simon, but an equally great guy, Paul Simon, created 2x2, and that's what we do here. Now, Anthony, he's a multi-instrumentalist, so he takes the demos that I do with my bad keyboard playing, bad guitar playing, bad drum playing, and he actually turns them into wonderful pieces of music on the songs that I write, but he does his own songs as well, and he does them very, very well. Now, the third question from Jason, I'm really taking my time here to get through all this again. What was your favourite segment during Network Wiggles? Now, Network Wiggles was a great TV series. We did that for the ABC in probably 2003, maybe 2004. Somebody's going to have to correct me on that. So my favourite segment would probably, well, it was a funny series, that one, because we did a lot of individual things. So there was the news that I presented, there was Music with Murray that I wasn't involved with, there was Where's Jeff, which I wasn't involved with, and there was Anthony's Workshop. And I really liked that format because that worked really, really well for children, but it meant that we shot a lot of things independently of each other. So probably my favourite segment was the Network Wiggles news that I presented. That was a lot of fun. I loved working with Nick Bufalo, who was the director of that series, because Nick, I had a lot of admiration for Nick because as a younger person growing up, there was this show on TV that Nick was a comedy actor on, and they did some brilliant stuff. So I had a lot of respect for Nick as an actor and as a comedian, and to work with him as a director on Network Wiggles was a real thrill. And Nick, because the other Wiggles weren't there, it was really just Nick and I bouncing ideas off each other as to what we were going to do. We had the scripts, but we kind of played with them a little bit, and we had different ideas on how to present them. So yeah, Nick was a big part of that, and I really enjoyed working with him. So that's probably my favourite segment on Network Wiggles. Now I'm going to scroll down here because I know there's somebody else who has said, I haven't answered their questions, it's Justin. So I'm going to try and find your question, Justin, while I tell you also to keep watching to the end of this video, because I've got an announcement. If I haven't said that already at the start of this, I can't remember if I did, make sure you watch to the end because there's another announcement about something I'm going to be doing very soon on my YouTube channel. So where's Justin's question? Justin Amador, I think it is, or Amador. I'm not sure how I pronounce that, mate, but I will answer your questions. And again, I apologise to people for not answering all your questions. It's just, there are so many of them. I mean, there's 101 comments on this as I'm filming this now. One thing I might look at doing too might be like a live stream of questions. If anybody's interested in that, you can always like post below. Maybe don't post any more questions for now until I catch up on all the questions, but post below in the comments here that if you would like to participate in a live stream. If you think that would be cool, then I'd be happy to do that if there's enough people that want to see it. Now, Justin, I have found, oh, hang on. Thank you so much for taking the time to answer not just mine. So I have answered your question, Justin. That's good. Not just mine, but some of my friends' questions. And yes, you pronounced my last name correctly. Oh, well, that's good, but I can't remember how I pronounced it the first time I did it, mate. So my apologies. Now, if there are some other questions here that you've asked, Justin, and I haven't gotten to them, I will get to them. So what I'm going to do, I'm scrolling right to the bottom now of all the questions below part 5, and I'm going to start here with Brianna M. Hi Greg, my name is Brianna. I'm from Canada. Like most people, I've been a major Wiggles fan since I was young and was greatly inspired. My question is, if you weren't involved with kids entertainment, what other career do you think you would have pursued? That's a very good question. The probably very accurate answer to that question would be I would have been a teacher. I went to university and studied to become a teacher, and I had a scholarship to go to university so that, you know, I was paid by the Department of Education, it was way back when, in the olden days here in New South Wales, to become a teacher. They gave me some money every week to go to university. But the dilemma that I had was that if I didn't become a teacher, I had to pay all that money back to the Department of Education. Look, it wasn't a lot of money. It was something like $20,000, which is a lot of money over 3 years. So it was a pretty big decision when the Wiggles said, are we going to be teachers or are we going to be Wiggles? Because the Wiggles started when I was in second year of university. So for second year and third year, I was studying to become a teacher, but by the time I finished university, that's when the Wiggles kind of had enough of a name and a reputation to kind of go, well, are we going to do this full time or not? So I had to pay back that money to the Department of Education, and that's when I became a Wiggle. So had I not been a Wiggle, I would have been a teacher. So there you go, Brianna, that's the answer to your question. I got through that pretty quickly. Connor Douglas says, I love you so much, Greg. I know all the lyrics to the Wiggles, and you're a great Wiggle. Now, I've got to say, Connor, that's something that I'm going to be announcing later on at the end of this video. So stay tuned and you'll find out what it is. If you know all the lyrics to the Wiggles songs, you're probably going to do a much better job than I am at what I'm going to announce. I'm missing you so much, and Murray and Jeff, and I have a great question to ask you. What is your food? I think, what is your favourite food? Is it fruit salad? Well, now I have seen another question as I scanned through somewhere. Somebody asked a question about fruit salad. Do I eat fruit salad? No. Okay, so for many, many years I've been singing about the benefits of eating fruit salad, how healthy it is for you, and it is. It's very healthy, but I don't actually eat it myself. I'm not very big on fruit and veg, to be honest. Grapes and apples are about the only thing I eat in the way of things that you'll find in fruit salad. Banana I used to eat when I was young, but gave that up a few years back, quite a few years back. Pineapple I'll eat on a hamburger these days. I've gotten to like the taste of pineapple. So banana, pineapple, what else might you put in fruit salad? Pears and peaches. Yeah, sorry everyone. No, can't do it, I'm afraid. So grapes and apples are about the limits for me, and maybe a bit of pineapple on a hamburger. I love meat. I do love a good steak. I love hamburgers. I've kind of gotten into this thing now where I'm cutting sugar out of my diet, so I'm trying to eat less grapes. I used to eat a lot of grapes, particularly on hot days here in Australia. I'd be outside mowing the lawn or whatever it is, and I'd work up a real thirst, and I'd want to quench that thirst, and I'd get stuck into grapes, and they're full of natural sugar. And yes, natural sugar is probably better for you, like what they say is fructose. But what I'm finding, and this is not clinical advice by any means, it's just my own personal experience, I'm finding that now I'm not eating the grapes, I've been able to lose a lot of weight. Not a lot of weight. Maybe 4 kilos I've lost in the past 2 months by cutting a lot of sugar out of my diet. So meat and some carbs, potatoes. I'm eating less bread, which is probably a good thing too, but you don't need to know the ins and outs of that. Anyway, so Connor, moving on, you're talking a lot about there how you miss me, Murray, Jeff, etc. Do you have any questions here if I click on read more? I love your wiggly friends and I miss Sam too. And what is your favourite ice cream? Here we go. That's a good question. My favourite ice cream. Well, after having just said that I'm trying to cut sugar out of my diet, I'm not eating a lot of ice cream. But to be honest, vanilla. Vanilla ice cream is probably my favourite because you can do so much with that. If I do want to indulge on something sweet, I'll have a bit of chocolate cake, warm chocolate cake with a bit of chocolate sauce on top and just vanilla ice cream. I love the warm chocolate cake and the cold ice cream combination. I do enjoy that, but I don't have that a lot at the moment. So it's really good actually. I've cut back on the sugar and I'm not craving it so much anymore. Talk less, answer more. Here we go. Crazy Man Gaming. Hi Greg, my name is Isaiah and I have been a big fan of yours all my life. Well done, thanks mate. Especially when you started falling ill, I was really impressed on how you still managed to rock when you could hardly run and jump with everybody else on stage. My wiggly question, has there been a specific moment on stage when something very shocking or unexpected had happened? What was it and when, if you can remember? Well, yes, there's 2 instances that come to mind. I'll talk about one first because it's not too dubious. There'd be things that come up all the time. Live shows are great for that reason because the unexpected can happen, particularly when you're working with children. As I say, working with children and animals is very unpredictable. Now, we worked with children and animals. We had Wags the dog, Dorothy the dinosaur, and Henry the octopus. So we worked with both of those. So it was very easy for things to go wrong sometimes. But I'm thinking back to very early on in the days of the Wiggles, probably around 1994. This was back when we didn't have the professionally made costumes that we had. We didn't have the skivvies or the shirts with the logo on them, and we were responsible for our own wardrobe. Might have been 95 actually. I'm just trying to think back as to when it could have been. Probably 95. We were on tour in Melbourne somewhere, and generally back in those days we had one pair of pants that we wore on stage for every show, and we'd kind of wash them. We stayed at apartments every night when we were in Melbourne because we were based in one city, and we'd just stay in the hotel. We'd travel out to the different venues each day. So we'd have one pair of pants and probably 4 shirts that we just washed every night. Or that's what I did anyway. Not sure about the other guys. So I was sitting on stage singing a song called Hat on My Head, which goes, hat on my head, it's sunny today. Hat on my head, it's sunny today. I feel okay. And we did that acoustically, so there was no backing track. So if you've seen the Wiggles live, you'll know that quite often we used backing tracks. And generally the backing tracks were what we had recorded in the studio for an album, and we'd take my lead vocal out and that would be the backing track. So I'd sing the lead vocal live. This was just done acoustically. So Anthony was sitting on the stage strumming a guitar and I was singing the song. And I was kind of sitting there, I don't know what the framing's like on this, but I was sitting casually on the stage with my leg up like this on the stage like that. And Anthony looked over to me while he was playing the guitar and he was kind of nodding his head, wanting me to look at something. And I looked down, and as I looked at my pants had split right in the middle, and there was this gaping hole in my black pants. And I immediately put my leg down, of course, to conceal the hole. Everybody could see through to my underwear. So not a very good look at all. And finished the song, got up and went off stage and put on my pair of jeans, my civvies. So in the Wiggles, we had civvies and skivvies. So our skivvies were what we wore on stage. Now, in America or the US, I know skivvies can mean underwear. That's not what skivvies means here in Australia. A skivvy is that long sleeve top that we used to wear with the Wiggles. Typically, it would have the turtleneck thing around it. And that's what a skivvy is. So we had skivvies and civvies. So we turned up to the shows in our civvies, in our T-shirt and jeans or T-shirt and shorts, whatever it was. Then we got into our skivvies. So whenever we were the Wiggles, we wore our skivvies. And whenever we weren't in the Wiggles, we wore our civvies. So I had to go off stage, get my civvies pants on, my jeans, and come back on and wear jeans for the rest of the show. I then had to go out and buy another pair of black pants because we were on tour. I couldn't just go home and get another pair. Went out and bought another pair of pants. So that is something that was kind of shocking. The next one, without going on too long, because I talk a lot, don't I? Okay. So the next one was a little bit, it was kind of funny. It's a little bit, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I have to be careful even what I say on a YouTube channel because there are kids involved. So we were on stage. We had big blow-up wiggle set pieces, I guess you'd call them. Jeff was the first one. He had one that was a sleeping Jeff. So we'd inflate Jeff halfway through the show and we'd do the song Wake Up Jeff. We had Jeff asleep on stage and we had his big inflatable up behind him. Then I think we had one made up of Murray playing his guitar. So we'd do Play Your Guitar with Murray. Then we had one of Anthony. I think he had fruit or something. It was for fruit salad. And then we ended up getting one of me made that had me singing behind a microphone stand. And this one show, it's always funny when you're on stage and you can tell in the audience there's something going on behind you and you're not sure what it is. And you're kind of afraid to look because you don't know what it is and you're not sure how you're going to react to it. And at this point in time, the Greg Inflatable was up behind us. I don't know what song. We might have been doing Dancing in the Sand, perhaps. So the Greg Inflatable is up, but the microphone stand must have had a hole in it. So the microphone stand had sort of flopped over, but kind of from halfway up where Greg was standing, so from about waist height, the microphone stand had sort of fallen over and was not standing up. So on an adult level, if you can understand why people in the audience were laughing, you might understand what was funny about that, because we had no idea. We looked around and we thought, why is that even funny? But I guess as adults, we can sort of all look at that and go, okay, shocking, very shocking. Not a good thing to happen on stage at a Wiggles show. So I think we just deflated the whole inflatable and just got it off stage without acknowledging too much about it. So yes, shocking things happen on stage. I think Anthony broke his arm on stage one time. I might have spoken about this before. We had this big fiberglass bone made up for Wags because we were collecting bones for Wags and we put them in this giant bone and something happened with it. I think it fell over and Anthony copped it on the wrist. Yes, shocking things do happen on stage. And I think to the credit of the Wiggles, I don't recall, other than perhaps a tour of Singapore, which we had to can, which was part of a larger tour. We canned 4 days perhaps of a tour in Singapore because of the SARS virus breaking out, which was pretty serious. So understandably we had to cancel that. But apart from that, people would get sick, injured, whatever, but the show always went on. And that was something that we were always pretty proud of, that no matter what happened, we'd always try to do shows and get them across the line for the sake of the audience. So moving on to Daniel Woods now. Good on you, mate. Stop apologising for boring people or talking too much. Ha ha ha, we love it. Well, thank you for saying that. That makes me feel a bit better, but I do know I talk too much. Theme Park Trey, do you have any other cool talents other than singing? Well, thanks for even thinking that singing is a talent. But no, look, not really. No, I'm just me, and what you get is what you see, or what you see is what you get. No, so sorry, Theme Park Trey, no other cool talents. Uncle Ralph, what was the Wiggles puppets experience like? Oh, now that's a good question. A lot of people have asked about the Wiggles puppets over the years. They're not widely known because we didn't do a lot of things with them because, quite frankly, I think a lot of people were scared by them. it was one of those things where we just decided to try something different, something new, and they were made by a great puppeteer, Graham Haddon. He got them made for us. He did a lot of work with us around 96, 97, 98. He did a lot of the puppets, or nearly all the puppets, I think, for the Wiggles movie. And for a Wiggles TV series, we used them. I'm not sure which one it was, probably the GMTV one, actually. But yeah, the Wiggle puppets were a little bit freaky. They had these big sort of wide startled eyes like this, and it was a little bit full on. So we didn't do too much with the Wiggles puppets, but you know, we tried something new. And I think that's the thing with the Wiggles. We weren't afraid to try new things because we knew that we couldn't just keep doing exactly what we'd started doing. We had to try new things from time to time, and that was one of them. Didn't quite work. Moving on to One Up Girl. One Up Girl? One Up Girl? Not sure. Anyway, it's Jessica. So thanks, Jessica, for saying your name. That makes things a lot easier. Hey Greg, my name is Jessica. My favourite song is Rock-a-Bye Bear. When I was little, Wiggles weren't really popular here. I'm not sure where you are at, but anyway. I don't actually think your stuff was out here. My cousin used to get Wiggles stuff sent from Sydney from his aunt, so I knew of you from that. My almost 2-year-old loves the Wiggles. She loves Rock-a-Bye Bear. Well, isn't that good? The same song that you used to like. I was wondering what was your favourite tour memory. Also, can you please say hi to my daughter Rachel? Well, of course I can. Hi Rachel. Hope you're enjoying Rock-a-Bye Bear and the new Wiggles too. If you want to watch the new Wiggles do Rock-a-Bye Bear, you can probably click right here and see that. So, favourite tour memory. Wow. Lots of tours that we did. So many. I mean, basically, the Wiggles were on tour all the time. I mean, we would tour 10 months of the year, year in, year out. We wouldn't take breaks from touring like a lot of acts do, like U2, Rolling Stones, all those big acts. They'll tour maybe for a year or two, and then they'll take 4 years off, let's say. We didn't do that. We were just touring basically all the time. Look, just a general favourite memory from touring is just the vibe at a show, at a Wiggles show. It was just incredible to have so many people there coming along to something that you're a part of on stage and helping facilitate an amazing experience for them was, just phenomenal, really. And to be doing it with the guys who were my mates was just a lot of fun. I mean, yeah, it was hard work. Touring was very hard work physically and emotionally. It could be draining sometimes, but as soon as you got on stage, a lot of that just went away. You could be feeling sick, you could be feeling unwell, you could be feeling unhappy about something, but when you're in that moment on stage with your mates, the Wiggles, singing all those songs and seeing the children, you could forget about all your cares because nothing mattered. It was just about being in that moment, which I guess is what being mindful is all about. So yeah, just a general memory of happiness, being on stage with the Wiggles, because it happened almost every day, which was terrific. Okay, now I am going to have to wrap up pretty soon. Last question I'm going to do today is from HockeyBot9000. Hey Greg, what is your favourite Dorothy the Dinosaur moment? Okay, so talking before about funny things that happen on stage or shocking things that happen on stage, Anthony, to his credit, is very creative and very spontaneous on stage. This one time, he decided to try question time with Dorothy, and the premise of this was that children in the audience could ask a question of Dorothy the dinosaur. So just on stage one day, he just sprung it out of the blue on us and on Dorothy. So everybody, it's a new segment of the show, question time with Dorothy. So put up your hand and ask Dorothy a question. So immediately, all the children's hands started going up. Okay, what's your question? I'm 5. Okay, but what's your question for Dorothy? That was it. Okay, ask somebody else. What's your question? I've got a cat. Yeah, but what's your question for Dorothy? Well, there was no question for Dorothy because, as we found out, when we went back to one of our early childhood professors from university, we got back to early childhood psychology and philosophy and realised that, yes, young children don't really understand what a question is. Young children are very much into themselves. They don't really want to know about Dorothy the dinosaur. They want to tell you all about them. Like, I've got a brother, I've got a baby sister, I'm this, I'm 5, I love this, I love that. So what we did was we changed it from that day onwards. We dubbed that segment Crash and Burn. It's Crash and Burn time with Dorothy. We changed it to News time with Dorothy. So if you've got some news for Dorothy, put up your hand and you can tell Dorothy the news. And then it went over very, very well. So that's probably one of my favourite Dorothy the Dinosaur moments. A lot of fun times on stage with the Wiggles, but that's one that sticks out. So that's all I've got time for today, guys. Unfortunately, still lots of questions to get through. So I do have an announcement to make. As well as doing Wiggly questions, I'm going to start doing Wiggly song lyrics. Yes, we're going to test my memory of Wiggles songs and see how I go. I know a lot of you guys are saying that you know all the Wiggles songs, and I didn't know them all once. I sang them all once on CDs or live, but some I'll know better than others. We're going to really test that out. So you'll be able to see very soon Wiggly song lyrics. And I've got this, you know how I said I'm into computer programming? I've got this great program that I can use on my computer to program things up and generate random song titles from the Wiggles albums. So we're going to be using that soon. So I look forward to seeing you then. Thanks for staying tuned to Wiggly Questions Part 6, and I'll see you for Part 7 real soon. Bye now.